Dylan down at Turn 4 Automotive and Performance. Today we have a 2AZ FE in front of us. Unfortunately, we had to tear down to a problematic area. Ended up being an oil starvation problem to 2 rod bearing failures, unfortunately. So upon finding these 2 problems, or one, we needed to figure out what caused it. On the way down to here, we did find that there was a lot of RTV stuck in the oil pickup tube. That being said, this is why we're making this video. As manufacturers move down to using more RTV than the conventional gaskets, it's really coming down to the engine builder or mechanic itself on how much you apply. Not enough will cause a leak, and too much, well, it will result in this. We found an absolute ton of RTV stuck in the oil pickup tube, and as you can see, it's all over the block. It was a little bit too excessive, and that will absolutely sometimes cause motor failures due to oil starvation. Once the RTV settles down in the pan, it's picked up, it ends up being no good. So we're going to go over a little bit of the carnage today on what happened and why it happened on this 2AZ FE. As you can see inside the pickup tube, there's a lot of RTV. Now this area is already cleaned out because I wanted to see how much was already sitting there, but the rest of it in there is quite clogged, and that's going to cause an oil starvation. Well, motors love oil. They definitely don't like being clogged up. With that, the first place this oil went, besides the crank, the bearings, and everywhere else, is a balance shaft assembly in the bottom of the motor. As you can see, it not only did it take out the balance shaft bearing, let's see if we can get this guy out. She's pretty well stuck in there. It also did some damage to the balance shaft assembly for the carriage as well as the balance shaft. That right there is extremely excessive wear due to oil starvation. As we move over to the block, you can see the amount of RTV used is really excessive. Now it's really called upon by the mechanic or the person assembling the motor on how much to use. As you can see, as this piece was tightened, the upper oil pan was tightened to the block. You can see it's compressed out and pushed out the RTV. And over time, this stuff will fall apart and degrade and fall back into your motor and ultimately down into your oil pan and back into the pickup tube. Quite a lot. So because of the oil starvation, and again, it led to the ultimate failure of the motor, both these rod bearings ended up being bad. So we have to go back through this guy and replace bearings and inspect what else is bad, and there could be more to find. Your upper oil pan, and this is where your balance shaft assembly sits. And this is the other side of that bearing we've already shown. As you can see, it's chewed right up compared to something that doesn't have very much use. This guy is just absolutely gone, as well as this windage tray slash upper oil pan. So go ahead and follow along with us on this build or this rebuild, and make sure for you guys out there doing your own builds to use the right RTVs, what's called for, and the right amount. I'd rather have a leak than a motor failure.